Hello and welcome back to the channel. First of all, sincere apologies for not uploading anything for the last couple of weeks, but as I'm sure most of you are aware, there's a bit of a global crisis going on at the moment, so priorities had to be adjusted. And now in the UK we are told to stay at home, which means that going out in our cars and classic cars has become increasingly difficult. So I'm now stuck at home with my sort of workstation set up to work from home here, and with children running about during the day. They're in bed now, so hoping to bring a bit of a channel update to you. So what's happened since I've been off air? Well, first of all, global pandemic, which is you can't really be taken too lightly, this kind of stuff. So I mean, people are sort of complaining about being stuck at home and things, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not the worst thing to happen, and there's far worse things that can happen to you as part of this illness that's going around. So to be stuck at home really isn't that much of a hardship if you've got your health. Second thing is cars. So update on my cars. My Jaguar, the last time that I sent out any sort of video, was in good health. I loved driving it in my last video, getting that V8 sound sort of echoing throughout the Surrey countryside. And I swapped it actually for the MG, which is at my parents' house, and brought that back here. That wasn't quite as smooth as I'd hoped it would be, actually. So my MG being sat at my parents' house, I'd accidentally left on something which was using some battery power. So when I went to start it, it was completely dead. So first thing that I wanted to kind of mention was a recommendation, actually. 2 seconds. So one of these. So I just didn't have any way of starting the car apart from jump starting it from my dad's car. And I used to have one of those bigger portable battery chargers that was kind of really massive, actually, kind of a big sort of case type of thing. But I've swapped it now for a more like a power bank style one, which has got sort of jump leads that you can plug into it. And this was about 50 quid off Amazon, and it's really, really good. I was really, really pleased with this. And because it's so compact, I mean, this isn't, when I'm not, trying to plug anything here. I mean, this is just something I found, and there's going to be loads of copies of this kind of stuff around. But super, super useful. And because it fits in any sort of like tool bag or whatever, then my advice is just to get yourself one and keep it charged up, because it's not just for if your battery goes flat, it's also a really good sort of power bank for your mobile phone, camera, or even just an emergency torch. There's like an SOS light on there and stuff. So that's really, really good. The next thing, when I was actually taking the cover off my car, my mirror on the passenger side fell off. So even though I've now got a more streamlined MG, it's now missing a mirror on one side. So I have to get that replaced at some point. It's not the end of the world, because I've still got my rear view mirror and my driver's side one, but it's lost symmetry there, and I do use my mirrors quite a bit. So thinking about sort of the global sort of health crisis at the moment made me think a bit about the health of my cars, and particularly the MG, which is kind of why I swapped it. And what I'm going to focus on really over the next few weeks is getting the MG in better health. So having sort of stood for a while and not had an MOT for, well, a couple of years since they made it non-mandatory for cars that age, is really for me to try and concentrate on getting that car up to scratch and in good health, and get it MOT'd if I can, if we're not sort of advised to make sure that we stay at home completely. And then the next time that we get an opportunity to is to take it on a trip somewhere. So yeah, that's kind of the car update. Third thing is obviously being stuck at home. What does a car fan do with their time? So obviously there's sort of literature and that kind of stuff, and I was actually pleased to see that my latest edition of the Petrolicious Quarterly came through the door, which is always a good magazine or sort of publication to flick through. It's always well presented, great pictures in there and articles as well. Obviously YouTube, so lots of channels keeping me entertained. So I'll kind of give you my top 3 or 4 car channels, I suppose, while I'm giving this update. The first one that I tend to watch a lot of is Hoovie's Garage. That's an excellent one. American guy who buys often the cheapest car in the USA of a particular type, and he kind of explains what's wrong with it, takes it to his mechanic, gets it fixed up, which is pretty entertaining. I mean, the guy's kind of goofy, but really good value, sort of entertainment wise, so worth a watch. Harry's Garage, which is another one which I've mentioned as well, is a guy who used to run the Evo magazine. He always has great cars and lots of great stuff to say about them as well, and sort of real world reviews, as well as some longer road trips, which is what inspired me to do my XK8 to Wales one recently. Another one, Car Throttle. These guys are a few guys who are making videos in the UK, not actually too far from here actually, just in London, or a suburb of London. And they're kind of a budget Top Gear in a way, these 3 lads, and they're pretty entertaining as well, so that's well worth a watch and pretty interesting. Another one, pretty mainstream one, Donut Media. So they're really good, and they make quite professional looking videos of various things. So whether it's kind of a history of a particular car marque or model, or even a race team, there's a great series called Up to Speed on a lot of those. And also they've got other sort of shoot-off ones. So they did one where they had a couple of cars which are started off identical. One they spent lots of money on, one they spent not so much money on, and sort of compared, say, if it's worth spending lots of money on your modifications and stuff. And more recently, a sort of project car series, which is really ace to see. And I'm just trying to think of any more now. Oh yeah, finally, and one which is pretty close to like the XK8 following on this particular channel, I should imagine, is To The Garage. So a shout out to John from To The Garage. He makes some really great videos on sort of secrets of your XK8 or XKR, which is really, really good, and you learn a bit more about your cars, as well as a lot of practical advice as well. So I would check out John's channel To The Garage if you can, because there's loads of practical stuff on there, and he's sort of he's kind of got a small following at the moment, like bigger than me, but obviously because I'm only a teeny tiny channel. But yeah, tune into him, he's really good. And I think that's probably about it. That's kind of my subscriptions. There's another guy called Tavage who Freddie Tavage, I think his name is, who I'm sure a lot of you would have seen. He's one of the bigger YouTube stars. He's kind of fairly entertaining as well, and actually him, the guy from Hoovie's Garage, and the chap from VinWiki just done a new series which is really entertaining, of them buying 3 supercars, kind of a sort of Top Gear, I wouldn't say rip off, but sort of similar sort of themed stuff to keep me entertained. And the other thing I've been doing is getting more into my computer games, actually, weirdly. So you would think that sort of spending a lot of time down here in my man cave with my computer doing my work from home, that the last thing I'd want to do is spend more time in front of a computer. But it's actually made me think about all the different computer games I used to play when I was a bit younger. So Gran Turismo on the PlayStation was really, really good, and I've actually got a copy of that on my PS3 and my PS1 actually, which I've got set up again. Another game which I started playing probably about a year ago now is Forza Horizon 4. So that's a really fantastic game to play just as a sort of pick up and play sort of game, sort of arcadey sort of thing. But it's got loads of different cars, including MGBs and other like British sports cars, as it's set in Britain, or kind of a fake Britain, and you get all sort of barn fights and that kind of thing, and some really good challenges to complete in that game. So well worth a go on that. But my personal favourite, and a game which I've been playing a couple of times over the last week, is this game called GT Legends. Now this game came out a long, long time ago, and so you don't need very powerful hardware to run it. But it's super fun, super realistic actually, and as it runs on the R Factor engine. So if anybody's seen the R Factor game, it's kind of like a driving sim. But the thing that makes GT Legends special is that it actually features a lot of cars from a classic touring car and racing car series that was around 2005 or something. So it's modern-ish circuits, but with classic racing cars. And because it's been around for a while and it was quite popular, there's loads and loads of like add-ons and mods and racetracks and things. So one of the things I've downloaded is obviously an MGB, but also the full Targa Florio track. So that's like 40 odd miles of racetrack through Italy in classic cars, which is well, it's no substitute for the real thing, but it certainly goes some way to sort of fill that void of no classic cars at all. So yeah, so today just a quick update on sort of what's happened and my plans. So a few videos of MGs coming out soon, although probably not moving, more just maintenance type videos. But yeah, I'm still gonna be producing videos while we're locked down. So I hope that you'll continue to tune in and watch those. And yeah, let me know what you've been up to during this time. Whether you've been able to get out in your car, whether you've had to spend more time in the garage doing your own maintenance. But yeah, let me know in the comments. And until the next time, see you later. Cheers.